see you guys. It is a heavy day for everybody, I think, but energetically, and it's coming to the end of your training, which is a little bit sad as well, because I'm going to miss you all. It's like, but you're all back, you know, from doing your sequences. You'll see and you'll know how far you've all come. I think it was quite good to have done it near the beginning of the course, when you're all going, oh my god, I hate Louisa, why did she do that to us? And then you've done it, and it's like, okay, it's like you've all shown your own unique teaching style, so it's given you an idea of where you want to take yourself, hopefully. And if you haven't, that's okay too. Remember, there's no rights or wrongs. So that's where we're at just now. So I'm just going to speak a little bit. I know that Anna was interested in, you were speaking about chronic pain and stuff like that. So I've actually, the NHS asked me to, this was quite a few years ago, asked me to train some of their physios and psychiatrists that were employed by the NHS in like a weekend kind of workshop on how to apply yoga with chronic pain. So I did a little booklet for them. It's like pretty old-fashioned now, but I'm going to give it to you to use, because it's not one that I'm going to use in my mental health one. So it's one from back in the day. So some of it will be like, yeah. So, but it's just handy to use if you've got anyone that has chronic pain. I'm going to read you through some of the bits today. And we're also going to speak about like how to teach, in the sense that, but you might have, it's not just about teaching a generic class. So what do you do with one-to-ones? What do you do if you want to do workshops? So just like things like that, and different types of people that you might want to work with as well. So we're going to go over that. And then I've got I was going to do a really intense tantric meditation today, but I'm feeling that the planets are really like pushing us, and it's like it might be a bit too much energetically, because I feel like everyone's emotions are a little bit ragged just now. So I'm going to do one that's going to harness the energy and hold your space. I think that's probably better to do today than but I could record the tantric one for you, so you can use it when you feel that the energy's a little bit more stable, maybe after a couple of days. I think it's 4 days before the full moon, and 4 days after is still about whoa. So maybe like a couple of days after the full moon, you can do the tantric one, and you won't feel, it'll actually help. It'll like raise your vibration and help you. But just now, I think what we need to do is harness the energy in a really positive way, so you can hold your space. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So bear with me while I lean in and get my little booklet here. So we're going to speak about chronic pain first of all, because it's something that people, if you've not experienced it, some people just don't have an understanding of it. They just think they don't understand the psychology of it, in a sense, and there's more to it. So I was really, not delighted, but I was really honoured to get involved with the NHS to help, because a lot of my one-to-one students come to me from psychiatrists. They've spent a lot of their life in chronic pain, and I've seen what yoga can do to actually help them, and it actually changed their lives. So some of my fibromyalgia people that came to me with walking sticks, and really their quality of life was awful, eventually started going to, they were almost because a lot of it stems from emotional pain, as I've spoken about before. So they were scared to go to other teachers. But then they started coming to my classes, with the general public, and then eventually lost their sticks, and some of them are now have found other teachers, which I think is amazing. So you see a lot of yoga teachers going, oh my God, she's left, she's not come back. And I think it's a bit like being a parent. You know, what the sign of a good parent is to teach your children how to be without you. You know, so that they will come back to you, might come back to you. Well, they should come back to you. My kids are supposed to be coming to me on tomorrow. I'm very excited. But one's being a bit like, well, it's going to rain and I'm not sure if I can make it. But it's a bit like your yoga students. There's some of your yoga students, because if you're teaching a general class, if you're teaching a class with a mix of different students and you've got new people coming, yeah, of course you're wanting to help the students that have been coming to you for a long time to progress, and you do, because you give modifications and you take them further. But you know yourself, when you have your yoga practice, you change your practice all the time. It's you evolve as a person and you evolve as a yogi. So my way of teaching sometimes is, and I've had a lot of students that come to me and then years later come back to me. They're like, oh, I missed this. I've come back to have a, you know, they've gone and done their thing, come back. And they're like, I'm so sorry for stopping for a while, going to something. It's like, no, I think it's great. I think you should go to lots of different yoga teachers to find out where you're at. And if one resonates with you, stay with that one for a while. And you know that as you evolve, and then a lot of my students end up deciding to want to become yoga teachers. And I think that's amazing. So I remember before I was a yoga teacher, there was an older lady that used to teach in Stonehaven. And it was when Kaya was a baby. And so I didn't ever think of becoming a yoga teacher. You know, I'd been practicing yoga for a long time, but it wasn't something, you know, I hadn't even become a children's yoga teacher then. And so I'd put Kaya into the creche and think, oh, this would be great, go and do yoga. And this lady used to be really trying to get me to go into, because it was me and a bunch of old ladies, she'd try and make me go into like really like show me like how advanced she was and try and get me to do it, and then go, oh look, you can't do it. And I'd be like, all right. And then she announced at the end of the class once, if any of you are thinking of becoming yoga teachers, don't bother, because it takes years and you just shouldn't do it. And I realised that the only person in the room that would, because it's me and some pensioners, would be me. And I hadn't even thought. And it made me always remember that if I ever did, because at that point I hadn't even thought about it, if I ever do become a yoga teacher, I'm never going to intimidate my students or feel, you know, threatened by them, because I was no threat. I wasn't there to I was there just to try and practice yoga because I loved it, and I was putting my little daughter into creche to have some time, and I used to come away feeling traumatized. So if you've got students that are more advanced than you physically, that's okay. Let them enjoy it. Everyone's bodies are different. Sometimes just because somebody's like really more bendy than you doesn't mean that they're more advanced in other ways. And if you think you're spiritually superior, it's a sign you're definitely not, you know? So as I say, it's always like stepping out your own way, you know, step out your own way. It's not about you at all. Let your students be them and enjoy where they're at. And if they're not enjoying where they're at, you don't need to take responsibility for it. It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to hold your own space, so you don't get, you know, upset by other people's shit. So anyway, yeah, you'll find, even in a general class, let alone a one-to-one class, there will be somebody who's coming to your class because perhaps their doctor recommended, or they do experience chronic pain, or they have done. I know that you having a full abdominal hysterectomy, that is chronic pain. You know, I've experienced childbirth, but I've never experienced pain like that in my life. And so I have an understanding of pain consuming you. But luckily from my yogic practice was able to have an understanding that I am not my body. and things change. But some people have chronic pain forever. So it made me really empathize and really feel for people that it's not going to go away for them. So this is where we can help. In some ways, we can alleviate the pain by showing them ways to do it. And because alleviating some of the emotional pain can sometimes release the chronic pain, but sometimes not. It might be an injury, you know, so it's about doing what you can, and by having an understanding, it helps. Okay, so there are a few things more frustrating to a person with chronic pain than hearing someone say your pain is all in the mind. But if you live with chronic pain, these words might actually be the key to relieving your suffering. Chronic pain is in the mind, but this does not mean what you think it means. The experience of pain is real. Pain has a biological basis. It's just that the source of pain isn't limited to where one feels it or thinks it's coming from. So modern science and yoga agree. Our present pain and suffering have their roots in our past pain, trauma, stress, loss, and illness. So for decades, scientists and doctors thought that pain could be caused only by damage to the structure of the body. They looked for the source of chronic pain in bulging spinal discs, muscle injuries, and infections. And more recent research, however, points to a second source of chronic pain: the very real biology of your thoughts, emotions, expectations, and memories. Most chronic pain has its roots in physical injury or illness, but it's sustained by how that initial trauma changes not just the body, but the mind-body relationship. The complexity of chronic pain has actually got good news. It means that trying to fix the body with surgeries, pain medications, or physical therapy is not your only hope. By first understanding chronic pain as a mind-body experience and then using yoga's toolbox of healing practices, including breathing exercises and restorative poses, you can find true relief from pain and begin to reclaim your life. So understanding the difference between acute pain and chronic pain will be critical to your ability to reduce and manage pain. So let's begin by examining the basic steps of the pain response: sensation, stress, and suffering. So the protective pain response begins when the body experiences some physical threat, such as a cut, a burn, or an inflamed muscle. This threat is detected by specialized nerves and sent through the spinal cord up to the brain, where, among other things, the threat signals are transformed into pain sensations. So emotion processing areas of the brain also get the message, triggering a wide range of reactions, from fear to anger. Combined, your thoughts and emotions about the physical sensations of pain make up the suffering component of the full pain experience. To help you take action, the threat signals have been simultaneously routed to the areas of your brain that help the body launch an emergency stress response, coordinating the actions of the nervous system, the endocrine system, and immune system. The emergency response triggers a cascade of physiological changes that give you the energy and focus to protect yourself from life-threatening danger. So even after the threat is gone, the pain response is not over. The mind and body are very interested in making sure you know how to protect yourself from this threat in the future. So the nervous system begins the process of learning from this experience. Any kind of injury or illness, even one that's short-lived or appears to be fully healed, can change the way the nervous system processes pain. So chronic pain differs from acute pain in three important ways. First, the body can become more sensitive to threat, sending threat signals to the brain, even when the threat is minor or non-existent. Second, the brain can become more likely to interpret situations as threatening and sensations as painful, producing pain responses that are out of proportion to any real danger. And finally, with repeated pain experiences, the boundaries between the many aspects of the pain response sensation, suffering and stress get blurred. And in most cases of chronic pain, the mind and body have learned all too well how to detect the slightest hint of a threat and mount a full protective response in all its glory. So the things that make pain so effective at helping us survive acute emergencies and handling short-term pain are the very things that make chronic pain so complex and persistent. The pain you feel may reflect a protective mind-body response that has become overprotective. So why does our past pain make you more sensitive to future pain? You can thank one of the great wonders of our nervous system, its ability to learn in response to experience. So this ability is called neuroplasticity. Through the repeated experience of pain, the nervous system gets better at detecting threat and producing the protective pain response. So unfortunately, in the case of chronic pain, learning from experience and getting better at pain paradoxically means more pain and not less. So both modern science and yoga share this idea. Present pain and suffering have their roots in past pain, trauma, stress, loss, and illness. Modern science uses words like neuroplasticity to describe the process of learning from past experiences. Yoga uses the word samskara. Samskara are the memories of the body and mind that influence how we experience the present moment. Samskaras keep you stuck, feeling the same emotions, thinking the same thoughts, and even experiencing the same pain. So the best way to unlearn chronic stress and pain responses is to give the mind and body healthier responses to practice. Samskaras do not always lead to suffering. They also lead to positive change. Just as trauma, illness, pain, and stress leaves traces on the body and mind, so do positive experiences. What you practice, you become. Learning is lifelong, and none of the changes you've learned have to be permanent. Neuroplasticity can be harnessed for healing. Your mind and body have learned how to do chronic pain, and your job is to teach it something new. So the best way to unlearn chronic pain and chronic stress and pain responses is to give the mind and body healthier responses to practice. So by helping you to transform chronic pain and stress responses into chronic healing, so yoga helps to reduce your suffering of chronic pain. So your mind and body have built-in healing responses that are just as powerful as their protective pain and stress responses. Whether it's a meditation and gratitude, a relaxation pose that puts your mind and body at ease, or a breathing exercise that strengthens the flow of energy in your body, they all share the benefit of bringing you back home to your natural sense of well-being. Relaxation specifically has been shown to be healing for chronic pain. So it turns off the stress response and directs the body's energy to growth, repair, immune function, digestion, and other self-nurturing processes. The relaxation response unravels the mind-body samskaras that contributes to pain and provides the foundation for healing habits. Consistent relaxation practice teaches the mind and body how to rest in a sense of safety rather than chronic emergency. We're going to look at breathing practice and several restorative yoga poses that promote the relaxation response. So you remember on Tuesday, I spoke to you about yin yoga. So yin yoga helps to promote the relaxation in the body, and it is good for the parasympathetic system. But it's not restorative yoga, so everyone associates yin and restorative together. So yin, you should be practicing it if you don't have injuries, and you should be using gravity to help you come down into it. But you can use props, but it's not recommended. So restorative is when you use props to help you heal. So the little booklet I'm going to give you is going to have some restorative poses and restorative things to do, and chair stuff and things like that. That's going to help any of your students that have that. And it's good for yourselves as well. Rather than me teaching it, it's something that's like good for you to have, so you can feel it in your own body in your own time. So breathing the body is a visualization practice adapted from the traditional practice of Yoga Nidra and the body scan practice taught in John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction program for people with chronic pain. So you can start in any comfortable relaxation pose, such as Shavasana, and place your hands on your belly and feel the movement of the breath. Noticing the belly rising and falling, and notice the breath moving in and out of your body. You can breathe right at the sensations of discomfort. Imagine that the breath is dissolving the tension and the pain. So in this practice, you will imagine you can inhale and exhale through different parts of your body, as if your nostrils were moving to that part of the body, starting with your feet and imagining the breath entering your body through the soles of your feet and exiting your body through the soles of your feet. And notice any sensations there. And then feel and imagine that flow of energy in the feet as you breathe. Now repeat this visualization for other parts of your body. Your lower legs, your knees, your upper legs, your hips, your lower back, middle back, upper back, your belly and your chest, your shoulders, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, hands, etc. So when you get to an area that feels tense, uncomfortable, or painful, don't skip it. There are several things you can try that might make you feel more comfortable. First, stay with the visualization and direct the breath there. And imagine that the breath is dissolving or massaging the tension and pain. Imagine the solidity of the tension or pain softening, and find the space inside the pain. So second, try moving the attention back and forth between the uncomfortable area and the comfortable area. For a few breaths, breathe into this painful area. And for the next few breaths, breathe into another area. Switching back and forth like this can teach the mind how to give the uncomfortable sensations less priority. You're practicing a healthy kind of distraction, intentionally shifting your focus while still being present in your body. And when you've worked your way through the whole body, let yourself feel the breath enter the body through your nose, mouth, and throat, and imagine the sensation of breathing through your whole body, as if your body were gently expanding as you inhale and contracting as you exhale. And feel or imagine the flow of energy through your whole body. So I can vouch for this one because, as a lot of you know, or you probably all know because I always go on about it, I broke my neck at C6. So on days like this, you know, today is like a really dank day when it's a damp, heavy weather. I get a lot of pain. So I experience chronic pain in my neck. I don't experience as bad as my surgeon expected me to, because I practice yoga every day, and I'm entitled to get injections into my neck for the pain, but I don't use it. I use a lot of these chronic pain relief techniques. I use visualizations and I practice yoga. So they wondered after my MRI scan why I'm not basically disabled. I'm not. It's a mindset. But today I feel pain, and I could feel it last night. But I Reiki'd my neck. I used crystals. I did some manipulation of the fascia. But I could tell that today was going to be a dank day. So if you do experience chronic pain, and it's a damp, cold day, it goes into the pain. But that breathing technique really helps. So if you've got students that have that, even if you don't have students that have that, everyone has blockages pranically. somewhere in the body, unless you're a completely enlightened being. And I don't know any enlightened beings. I don't know about you. So you can, that could be a really good shavasana to guide someone through. If it's a day like this and you've got everyone in shavasana, and you can really, if you're wanting to energetically help with the heaviness of the day, it's a really good one to work with. So pranayama can be a powerful way to quickly relax the nervous system, shifting the balance from fight or flight sympathetic side to the more restorative parasympathetic division. So such practice is simply slowing the breath, lengthening the exhalation relative to the inhalation, and pausing briefly after the exhalation, all tend to shift the balance of the nervous system to the parasympathetic side. Better still, these simple pranayama techniques can be done almost anywhere without others even necessarily being aware of what you're doing, and the relaxing effects begin almost immediately. Students can do these breathing exercises sitting up on the floor if their alignment is reasonably good and if they're comfortable, and if not, don't hesitate to use props liberally or encourage them to use a chair. If they're uncomfortable for any reason, it will interfere with relaxation and it will defeat the purpose of the exercises. It's also quite useful to do pranayama lying down in a supported position on the floor. So try placing narrowly folded blankets or a specially designed pranayama bolster lengthwise along the spine, and support the head and neck as necessary to keep the chin lower than the forehead. An eye bag can facilitate pratyahara, the turning of the senses inward, deepening the relaxation. So meditation can also be the most powerful yogic tool of all for managing chronic pain. And breath work, particularly alternate nostril breathing or nadi shodhana, is a wonderful way to prepare students to meditate. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are on any of these Facebook groups, Yoga Teachers UK or Yoga Teachers of, all. It's becoming a bit, it's almost like if I've never said anything on them, but if somebody says something, there's all these yogis on them, like are judging other yogis for not doing this. And last night there was somebody who's running a yoga teacher training slagging off one of their trainees because, and it was horrible to see or read, and then they're all getting on the bandwagon, and I'm like, that is just not yoga. And basically what it was is one of their assessments, they were going over their assessment that they were going to do, and they told the guy who was the trainee that they were going to do nadi shodhana for part of their sequence. And he was outraged by it because he said, during a pandemic, you should never touch your face. And I've taught her that. And everyone's like, yes, that's terrible. He's like, I'm thinking of kicking her off the course because I've told her not to touch her face, and she's going to try and teach her students in the pandemic to practice nadi shodhana. And there are all these people, and there's nobody. I know that I probably should have said, look, that's outrageous. Nadi shodhana, you can touch your face in your own house. And you can wash your hands afterwards. I would say nadi shodhana is like a really helpful technique. I'm quite happy to touch my face, and I'm happy for you guys to touch your faces too. But that's how ridiculous the world is getting just now. I've found it to be more and more these like groups to be really unsupportive and judgy. So be careful. If you join any of them, just be a watcher. I just wouldn't get involved. So, and I'm all for nadi shodhana. Touch your face all you want. Okay, I thought I better share that. I was like outraged. It was like last night on Facebook, I was outraged. And I knew I had to share with you guys because I would never do that. And it's like, why would that man, you should be speaking to that person privately about it and not bitching about her publicly on a social media platform. It's like, that's outrageous. Anyway, So you're perfectly safe with me. I'm not going to bitch about you. I love you all. So encourage students who feel that they can't meditate due to their busy minds to try a minute or two of Nadi Shodhana, touch your face, before they can attempt to meditate. So doing so may allow them to slip into the practice more easily than they would otherwise be possible. So while both alternate nostril breathing and meditation can be done while supine, yogis believe that it's generally preferable to do them in a seated position. The practice of meditation can also become a powerful method of self-study or svadhyaya. So when you sit down to meditate, you observe the recurrent thoughts that crop up, and you can begin to see how these thoughts, the story you tell yourself about your life, can have a profound effect on your experience. Yoga differentiates pain and suffering. Pain can't be avoided entirely, but how much it affects you, how much you suffer, in other words, is largely a matter of the mind. Crucial to the yogic approach to pain is the ability to differentiate your pain itself from the thoughts about it and your emotional reactions to it. Often people with chronic pain fuel the fires of their suffering with negative thinking. This is never going to get better. I'm not going to be able to work. I won't be able to pay my rent. Such recurring thoughts are distressing and tend to activate the sympathetic nervous system, making matters worse. Long-term meditation appears to change the wiring of the brain in a beneficial way. And meditation seems to increase the activation of the left prefrontal cortex, a finding that's been associated with greater levels of happiness and equanimity. There is also evidence that meditation can reduce the transmission of pain signals from the thalamus, a major relay center in the brain, to the higher brain centers where pain signals are interpreted. There is something about chanting that also moves the spirit, especially for those yogis who gravitate towards bhakti, devotional practices. So many people find deep healing while chanting, even in cases where an actual cure isn't possible. So other ways to touch the emotional core of bhakti yoga include prayer and worship of a saint or a deity. Though there's nothing in yoga that says you have to believe in any particular religion or god to take advantage of bhakti practices. Aside from any devotional aspect of chanting, the physical vibration of sound waves has a palpable effect on the body and mind and has demonstrated therapeutic value. Humming, for example, has been shown in scientific studies to open the sinuses. Looking beyond their physical effects, sound waves can also be a vehicle to bring awareness into an area of the body that may be dull. Yogis have observed that areas of dysfunction in the body are often cut off from full awareness. So from a yogic perspective, pain is commonly related to prana or life force, not moving well through an area, a pranic block, if you will. So prana, according to yogic teachings, follows awareness. When the breath is accompanied by the vibrations of different sounds, it can be used as a tool to direct awareness. Thus, yoga teaches generating sounds and following the sound waves as they traverse different areas of your body can be a way to move energy that's been stagnating. Ujjayi breathing is probably the most common example of how sound linked to breath can help bring focus. One technique that yoga teacher Anna Forrest sometimes uses is to have a student engage in louder than usual Ujjayi breathing during a pose. She then asks the student to try and direct the breath to the dull or painful area. If you try this, see if your student can use any resultant heightened awareness of the area by finding opening or release. And don't be surprised if the physical release is accompanied by an emotional one. So Anna Forrest, if anyone's heard of her, if you've done any of her practices, I've done some Anna Forrest stuff. One of my teachers, Vidya Heisel, who's the frog lotus yoga person, she trained with Anna Forrest. It's lots of core work, hard vinyasa stuff. But it really works with your Manipura chakra. It gets things moving in your body. but she's a really interesting character. If you look her up or listen to any of her talks, or you know, her practices, she was actually basically disabled, and she found yoga and her type of practice. I think she's gone a little bit shamanistic now as well. Her and her partner, it's interesting to look up forest yoga anyway. But the fact that she's come from being basically disabled, her body was like really, I think she was born with her body like that, and her practice is really strong. But so she has a strong understanding of chronic pain and your body and how yoga can change. Okay, so another practice useful in heightening awareness is to practice a pose while making the bee breath of Brahmari. So you do this simply by humming gently with each exhalation, continuing to exhale as long as is comfortable. So this is a simple way to get your students to lengthen their exhalations relative to inhalations without even thinking about it, which, as we've discussed, tends to shift the nervous system to the restorative parasympathetic mode. And for students whose minds are busy or distracted by their pain or the story they're telling themselves about their pain, the noise of Brahmari tends to drown all of that out for a while. If you tune in, you may notice that the sound waves of Brahmari resonate all through your body, right down to the tips of your toes. This palpable vibration will also resonate through normally dull areas of the body and can be a tool to try and bring them back to light. For example, a student who can't sense their rhomboid muscles in the mid-back may be able to feel them vibrate during Brahmari. Once they can feel the muscles, they may have more success in engaging them. You might even try a visualization exercise in which your students imagine that prana is following the vibration through these areas. So chanting different sounds at different pitches and intensities has different effects on the body. Well, there's nothing in yoga that says you have to chant in Sanskrit, the traditional language of most yoga chants. There may be an advantage in doing so. Sanskrit was a designed language, not one that arose spontaneously, and the masters who formulated it had likely engaged in deep study of sounds and their effects on the body and mind for generations. Chants were designed to have different effects based on their sounds, which is one reason why good pronunciation is said to matter. Different sounds resonate maximally in different areas of the body. This was explicitly considered in assigning meaning to words in the Sanskrit language. Thus, there may be specific effects of Sanskrit chants that are connected to the different areas of the body. If you try it, you may just discover, for example, that the feeling of chanting peace, peace, peace is very different from chanting the Sanskrit equivalent, shanti, shanti, shanti. One final aspect of chanting that may make it particularly beneficial for your students with chronic pain is the social nature of group chanting. People in pain may restrict their activities and wind up with limited social support. Sangha, or community, can be one of the most healing elements of yoga, and singing in a kirtan can be a great way to connect and share with others. So the physical postures of yoga can also help relieve pain in a number of ways. The most obvious is the ability of a well-rounded yoga practice to lower stress levels. Stress makes muscles more likely to go into spasm, and muscle spasms are an underappreciated contributor to both acute and chronic pain. Indeed, in the cause of back pain, it's tight, aching muscles which can grip in response to even minor injuries to tendons, ligaments, or other connective tissues that experts now believe cause most of the pain. The practice of asana, beyond its ability to induce relaxation, can be an effective way to release muscle tightness. And in contrast to many other forms of exercise, yoga promotes both strength and flexibility in muscles. Asana can also be helpful in conditions such as back pain and degenerative arthritis. where poor anatomical alignment and dysfunctional movement patterns are usually contributing to the problem. By teaching your students to engage muscles that aren't working properly and relax ones that don't let go when they should, you can help them bring their bones into better alignment, relieving compression of joints and soft tissues. Unconscious muscular gripping can be a problem in a host of conditions, ranging from headaches to carpal tunnel syndrome. By offering feedback to your students as they practice, you can slowly help them bring awareness to areas where they currently have little. So in some areas, such as the muscles of the face, simply pointing out the gripping that may be enough to allow the students to let go. For other areas, such in the hips or quadriceps, it can take years of steady asana practice to find significant muscular release. I know that my teachers, when I first started practicing yoga, used to go, relax your shoulders. I'd be like, I didn't realize, I was like, I first started practicing yoga as a single parent when Levi was a baby, and I at the time I couldn't afford a bed or a fridge. I was, working so hard, and I was like in a tiny little flat with Levi, and I didn't have any support or anything like that. I was just like this, and I didn't realize I wasn't sleeping, IBS and all that. And it was my friend Linda, who's in her 80s now. She was she used to practice yoga, and she was the one that led me to yoga. And I used to go with her at lunchtime, and my teacher goes, relax your shoulders, and I'm like, what? You just sometimes don't realize. So that's why you see when I teach you guys, I sometimes say, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your pelvis. You hold in there, especially if there's stuff going on for you emotionally, or there's trauma related to there. You don't realize you're holding. So if you start to understand your own self, you can teach better in that way, because I know that. And then that's the thing, if you're holding tension in your shoulders, you're not protecting your neck, and it could have contributed to me breaking my neck. So it's really interesting. The way you protect your neck is to open up and relax the shoulders. The way you protect your back, engaging your core. So there's different ways of protecting your body in certain ways. So I'm just being aware of, just bringing awareness into your body. If it's discomfort, it's okay. If it's pain, you pull away. And pain is normally in a specific area. Discomfort is in the general area. That's another way of letting your students understand that. Okay, so it's okay to feel uncomfortable. Okay, so regular asana practice can also improve sleep. So that is the thing, when I first started practicing yoga, I was in severe insomnia because I was worried about money and bringing up my daughter on my own, and almost like the first 2 weeks, I've suddenly started sleeping. It's like I know the benefits because I remember the vulnerability you feel when you first start practicing yoga and how self-conscious you feel. I was always the naughty one laughing in the back as well. So I get the people who feel self-conscious and giggle at the back. I don't roll my eyes at them. I know that sometimes it's that self-conscious thing too. So poor sleep can worsen pain. It's thought to be a major contributor to the pain in such conditions as chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So be sure, however, to advise your students to avoid activating practices such as back bends or vigorous pranayamas too close to bedtime. So sensitivity varies among individuals, but generally it's a good idea to put a few hours between vigorous asana and sleep, and to balance active practice with a good dose of restorative and relaxing ones, especially when practicing later in the day. I've been practicing, I have a cozy bath with my Epsom salts, and I do yin yoga before bed, and it works, it's so good. So do your yang in the morning and your yin at night, it totally works. So posture and pain. Posture can play a huge role in back pain, neck aches, carpal tunnel syndrome, and a variety of other conditions. And here again, asana can be really helpful. So in the modern world, where people spend a large percentage of their days sitting at desks, staring at computer screens or TVs, or on Zoom, it's common to round the back and hold the head well in front of the spine. This C-shaped slump can compromise nerve conduction and blood flow to the arms, potentially worsening the pain of such conditions as carpal tunnel and thoracic outlet syndrome. So this misalignment is commonly accompanied by an unhealthy internal rotation of the upper arms, which is further exacerbating the problem. So when your head is poised directly above the spine, it takes relatively little effort to maintain its position. But when you hold your head well in front of the spine, the muscles in the back of the neck and upper back get stretched and become painful, which is one reason why neck, back, and shoulder tightness and pain are so common. Having to hold up a weight equivalent to a bowling ball all day can contribute to fatigue, another common complaint, and another factor that can worsen the perception of pain. So the particular asanas and improved posture will depend on precisely what you see when you examine the student. For those with a classic C-shaped slumpasana, as it's sometimes called, gentle back bends are often therapeutic, though these students may find them particularly difficult. Slumpers often fail to engage their rhomboid muscles between the shoulder blades and their back extensors in the thoracic region. So take care that when these students do back bends, they aren't overly arching their lumbar spines or their necks. Doing so allows them to give the outward appearance of bending backwards with actually engaging those muscles that they either don't know how to use or prefer not to use. Without your guidance, they may be doing these poses in a way that won't be helping their problem and could cause pain in new places. You might have such students try Bhujangasana, Cobra, or Shalabhasana, locust pose, by keeping the backs of their necks long and their gazes directed down at the floor to encourage them not to compress their cervical vertebrae. Also advise them not to strive to get as high as they can in these poses, which often happens at the risk of compressing the lumbar spine. Instead, have them stay closer to the ground while focusing on bringing movement into the area between their shoulder blades. While it may not look like much, your students are likely to report that doing the poses in this manner makes them work in a way which they aren't accustomed, and that's the key to the benefit. Okay, so chronic pain, there's a lot to it, but you can see how yoga benefits, and you'll always get one-to-one students or students in your classes. You get students in your classes that have suffered or come to yoga because of that. So if somebody comes to you to do a one-to-one class, let's see what time it is. Yeah, if they come to you to do a one-to-one class, I'd advise that you get them to fill in a form. I'm going to put it into your group so you've got the form that you can use, the one that I use. So you're aware of because what they're coming to you for, if there's anything you need to know. Sometimes they might have low blood pressure, so you've got the contraindications of just being careful and forward bending. I've got really low blood pressure, but I'm okay. I manage it, but some people don't, and it can make them feel really, really lightheaded. And also a lot of the time I've found when people come to you for one-to-ones, they think they come to you for a specific reason, and it turns out as you're progressing with them that that's not really what they need. So they come to you thinking that they want to be, I've had quite a few students come to me wanting, maybe physically because of chronic pain, think they want to physically, and then it turns out it's an emotional trauma thing that we end up doing a lot of the Kundalini stuff, Yoga Nidra, and even Reiki and Yoga Nidra in their Shavasana that really helps. But I've had people come to me wanting to learn how to do the wild stuff that the advanced stuff, because they don't get enough of it in their general classes. And then they find, as they're doing their one-to-ones and they're progressing with that, they've reached something that little bit deeper and realize they actually need more connection. You know, this thing that they're striving for, this doing better, doing more and more and more, is something internally that they need to work on. You know, it's almost like that thing that they learn about. Ah, okay, by trying to prove to myself that I can do more and more and better, that's the thing. It's not about being able to do this amazing pose. So you'll find you'll have really, so it's about being able to hold their space. So you'll find if they come to you, so be aware that be aware of the asteya, that they don't steal your time, because it's like I know you guys are such lovely people that you'll end up, and I know that when I first started having one-to-ones, I'd be like, oh my God, they've been here for 2 hours. They're only spent 7 hours because they want to speak about their stuff afterwards. You're like, you're really happy to be supportive of them. But if you've got say 2 one-to-ones, and you're a single parent, your kids want your attention, that's 2 hours off your life because you've got other stuff to do, and you've got 2 hours off your life you could have been given to your children who need you more. I did used to give a lot of my time to people who maybe needed time, but that wasn't my time to give. My kids didn't get because I was giving my like saying yes to everybody and everything, and my kids didn't ask, and that's something that I regret, but it's something that you learn. So I now, if I have a one-to-one, I'll make sure I'll offer them a glass of water afterwards, because you don't want to shove them out the door after Shavasana, but yeah, if you've hung up their coat, give them their coat, their glass of water, and then sit with them, so I would say 15 minutes after, then you say, oh, I've actually got another client coming pretty soon, or I've got to go out I've got something, I'm going to have to leave in a minute. And I know that's like a white lie, but that's the only way. Sometimes they'll be feeling so comfortable or things come up for them, they want to speak to you. If you've got, you need to kind of set boundaries. That's something that you're not told in your teacher training, that you need to set boundaries sometimes, because your time is precious too. As much as I say, step out your own way, and you've got to be able to, you're there it's about your students, but it is about you holding your own space. So set healthy boundaries if you've got one-to-ones. And if you go to their house as well, the same. You don't stay on and chat away to them for ages. I tend to, if they ask me if I want a drink or something, I'm kind of like, no thank you, no, that's perfect, thanks a lot, and head off and let them have their time. So you'll find that people come to you for different things, and asking them, never making assumptions, ask them what they want, what they expect from it, and they'll maybe be surprised that as you progress, so ask them, don't make assumptions as the weeks progress that they still want that, or you can kind of naturally know and guide them without being spoken. I actually had a guy come to me, he was referred by his psychiatrist, and really high-flying oil worker, but he'd recently been diagnosed with Asperger's. So high-flying in a sense of career-wise and very intelligent, but struggles with relationships and struggles to feel. So he'd actually come to do yoga to learn how to feel. So that was a really interesting, and it was quite an emotional thing to see. Like he really came into his own, and for him to feel things. I used a lot of tantric meditations and stuff like that, and it really opened him up, and it was so lovely to see. Obviously, you can't cure Asperger's, but you can allow he really was willing to try and be able to feel things in a way that he never had. And yoga can help with that. So you'll meet really interesting people. So you can also, if you instead of doing like the generic, or like I was speaking about, you don't want to teach. You've got all different colors of where do you want to take your yoga. If you want to do a green class, a blue class, you want to what's the, be specific with what you want to do when you teach, instead of generic. If you mix all the colors together, it makes brown. You don't want to teach a brown class, do you? You want to figure out what you want to do. So it's quite nice as well. So if to offer workshops. Workshops are a way of you specializing in what you do and your USP. So, and you can do it in almost like, I've done workshops where it's like maybe just a 2-hour thing. So you're really just going further with them. Or you can do it an hour session, and then a little break, and then another hour session. I've done sessions, and I used to really enjoy having people. I'm going to start doing it again once like the COVID thing has calmed down. But I used to do them in my house. So what I would do is I have people coming in the morning, and they'd either have a mango latte or a chai latte, because it's Indian thing. I do it because I love India, and I was doing it like imagining that everyone was having a little retreat in Goa in my house. So we'd have a chai latte and or a mango latte when they arrive. So like a few minutes of everyone meeting each other. So we have up to about, sometimes I had 10 people, but that's a lot in your house. But it would be about maybe 8 people or 6 people, and they come into your house and do that. And then I would do an Osho active meditation with them, which really opens them up. And then we'd have maybe I'd make a Goan curry. So they'd have a Goan curry for their lunch, and then they would have an hour and a half's practice, followed by half an hour's yoga nidra. So that would be like, or if I didn't do active meditation, I do like an hour and a half really strong vinyasa practice in the morning, then lunch, and then I do an hour and a half of more like slower, like yin or kundalini style stuff, followed by a deep relaxation or a meditation. So or in the morning you could do a guided pranayama meditation followed by practice. So figure out if you want to. It might be something, because for me, I like to bring people together. I like people to experience it. It's about the feeling and the experience, and I like the experience of Sangha community. So that's part of my USP sort of thing. So think about what do you want to give, what do you want to, so there, if you look at it, there is no rules in that sense. You don't have to just do generic yoga classes like other people. What do you have to share? What do you have to give that's really you? What's remember your mahad? What's that inner spark that you were born with, and how can you share that? And you all have that. So don't worry if you're like, what? I don't know. I just want to teach a yoga class. That's okay too. But just giving you that, it's okay to like go out with the expectations of what society is telling us we should and shouldn't do. How can you make yoga? You've got all the tools and the knowledge. So how can you share that and change things and make a difference? So we're going to do a nice little meditation for you now, because I've been speaking at you for far too long. It's a Friday. I want to give you a nice feeling in you. So get nice and comfortable and come up to seated position. Oh, you can lie down if you like, as long as you don't fall asleep. We're going to increase Shakti in our lives. You want to increase a bit Shakti. Okay. So make sure you're comfortable. You're not going to want to move. If you're sitting upright, make sure your shoulders are back and down. And position the top of your head over the base of your spine. Remember, you don't want to have that bowling ball hanging over like we were speaking about. So close your eyes and become aware of your body. Relax. Feel your whole body at rest. And for the next minute, be aware of relaxing your entire body. Start at the top of your head and move slowly downwards, relaxing and softening all tension and contraction. Become aware of the whole body and gently direct your awareness to the flow of your breath. Watch your breath rising and falling through your nostrils. Don't force or try to shape your breath. Allow it to be completely involuntary. Just relax and observe your body breathing and the flow of air gently moving through your nostrils. Become aware of the breath as two separate lines. See the breath as two separate streams, effortlessly rising and falling through your nostrils. As you follow your breath for the next few minutes, continue to relax all tension in your body. Whenever you notice any roughness or even the slightest imbalance in the breath, have the intention to relax more deeply so that your breath becomes completely smooth and effortless. As you continue to watch your breath, your mind will gradually become quieter. Just continue to watch your breath, relax, and be aware. Don't force or try to make anything happen. Just relax and continue to watch your breath flow through your nostrils. In time, as your relaxation deepens and becomes more complete, this presence will become stronger and you will experience a deeper state of being. Continue to be aware of your breath. Gradually begin to sense a presence in the brain. As your awareness expands, sense this presence grow. In time, feel or see it evolve into a kind of light or glow. The more you relax, the more you just allow yourself to be while watching your breath, the more you experience this presence as light unfolding. Now begin to see, feel, or imagine a bright, golden, almond-shaped flame in the middle of the brain. Feel or envision a glow around the flame.
Sense that this light or flame is a source of boundless energy and power, one that is inherently healing and inspiring. Slowly begin to allow the flame to move from your brain down the center of your spine. As it descends, notice any resistance you experience to keeping your awareness on the flame, or to keeping the flame in the center of your spine. Take your time. Sense the flame moving itself down your spine. Feel the inherent intelligence of the flame, guiding it to descend through your spine at the perfect pace. As it descends, feel it energizing, nurturing, and renewing the core of who you are. When it reaches the point behind your navel, see it stop and feel it become established there. Relax and allow your awareness to cultivate the image or feeling of the flame. Sense it becoming more and more robust, a kind of living, vibrant presence in your abdomen. Sense that this flame is your source of boundless inspiration and energy. As you feel and see it, sense that you're connecting to the force that has been behind all the moments in your life where you experienced profound inspiration. This flame is your link to the times in your life where you truly excel and become an unstoppable force. For the next minute or two, sense the flame growing larger. See or feel it fill the entire abdomen, and sense its light infusing all of you with ultimate positivity and healing. Now silently and slowly repeat the following words to yourself. In me there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. In me there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. In me, there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. Take your time and be aware of how your body, mind, and soul resonate with these words. As you mentally say these words to yourself, do it with the knowledge that you're not trying to imagine something that doesn't exist. You're expressing in words the very nature of your essence or soul. Each time you say it to yourself, know that you are the embodiment of its sublime meaning. In me, there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. Each time you mentally repeat the words, pause, take them in, feel them nurturing you, connecting you to your true nature, and helping you unlock boundless capacity. Relax, take your time, feel the words, and be aware of them becoming more and more real to you. In me, there is a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. In me, there's a light that lights the whole world. It radiates truth, boundless will, action, and knowledge. Finally, rest in the knowledge that you embody limitless potential and the light of boundless will, action, and knowledge. You're going to slowly lower your chin, and before opening your eyes, rub your hands briskly together to generate heat in your palms. Then place your palms over your eyes to feel the warmth of your hands slowly energize your senses, body, and mind. Feel a quiet confidence, a renewed sense of purpose, and connected to a boundless inspirational force that is the same light that illuminates the whole world. Slowly taking your hands down away from your face and coming back into the real world. Namaste. Now I'm going to put it on record. Okay.